Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Southern Reads Podcast, the show where I talk about books and only books and everything book related. And today I am joined by Mr. Bret Ridgway. Bret is the best-selling author of multiple books in the speaking and publishing niches, but now he's ventured into the children's book world. We're going to discuss his journey, and also he's going to share some tips that will help be beneficial for all authors. So he's here, and I'm excited to have him on the show today. So Brad, thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to it. Welcome to Southern Reads.
I'm looking forward to chatting with you, Noah, and hopefully we'll be able to share some tips that will help some of your listeners out along the way.
So you started out writing books that kind of were in the speaking of publishing niches, the two very important things for I think authors to really know, but then you kind of wanted to venture into children's books. So tell me what prompted you to want to change lanes and start writing for kids.
Yeah, I was in the internet marketing and information marketing conference world for many years, going back to the late 1999s on up into the mid 2000 teens or whatever. And so I got to know a lot of speakers in that particular space and learned a lot along the way. And so I decided to start writing some business books. And they were based on the knowledge that I had learned from attending those events and ongoing training and all that. And they were fun to write. We ran a couple of them. We ran up to bestseller list and all that with a little bit of effort. But a few years ago, had the first grandchild, honestly, no, and I decided I wanted to try to write something that maybe would be a legacy for the grandchildren. And so I had this silly phrase, crickets playing croquet, that kept running through my brain. And it's like, why does that keep going through my brain? So one day I decided to sit down and play around with some of the AI programs to see if I could generate cartoon images of crickets playing croquet. And I tried a number of different programs, but lo and behold, you certainly could. And so I that evolved into a book which is titled Games Animals Play. And I wrote it basically as a legacy for my grandchildren and to help hopefully stimulate a love of learning in children who are 2 to 5 years old just getting started. So actually, I'm on a mission, Noah. I'm trying to give away 1,000 copies of the book this year to kids that don't have easy access to books. And so I've been going into some schools and reading to their kindergartners or first graders. And I donate books to the local food pantries and soup kitchens and all that to give out to families that come through and all. And so it's just kind of become a passion project. And I can tell you, it's a lot more fun to write children's books than it was to write the business books. I mean, they were a lot of work. I enjoyed the ride certainly, but the wrap up process to get a business book out the door that's 200 to 300 pages is a lot more effort than it was to put together a children's book. But it's about having fun. Like I said, it's a passion project and something I want to leave, for my grandchildren that they can remember me by long after I'm gone from this earth.
When it came to crafting the plot and the story for the book, how did you go about on discussing like what kind of story that you wanted to portray? Did you want to have an important lesson like how most children's books have, or was it just kind of like a fun, casual story?
More fun. So the actual book consists of it's an A to Z book. It's all alliterative. So think, crickets playing croquet was the impetus, but in the actual book, we have hippos playing hide and seek, turkeys playing twister, squirrels playing with silly strings. So it's all alliterative. And after discussions with family and my book publisher and all that, they said, Brett, you really need to make this an A to Z book versus just, haphazard, a little this, little that type thing. And so that initial phrase evolved into this first book again called Games Animals Play When We're Not Looking. And it's designed, Noah, to be a fun reader experience for little kids to be able to share with their parents or guardians or grandparents or whoever it may be. To stimulate a love for reading, each particular picture comes with a little rhyming 2-line poem, essentially. And then in the back of the book, there's a learning portion where it's fun facts about the actual animals that are pictured in the book. And there's three fun facts for three of the animals in there. And then in the back of the book, there's a QR code that will take the reader online to get the fun facts about all of the animals that are featured in that particular book. But with the children's book, you're limited to, basically 32 pages. And so they couldn't all fit in there. So we had to utilize some of the online tools also to get the full lesson out there for the kids.
And since releasing the book and coming out with it, what's been the critical reception that you've received so far for it?
Well, technically, Noah, the book doesn't officially release until August the 4th of 2026. So right now I have advanced reader copies, and like I said, I've been going into some of the schools and reading to the kids and all that stuff. But the reception has been very positive. I mean, the kids love receiving the book and hearing the book. The teachers seem to really have an enjoyment in bringing in outside authors who are willing to share a story with their kids. And so it's been a win-win. I mean, it's enjoyable for me, it's enjoyable for the kids, and everybody that sees the book basically thinks it's really cute and fun, and they really like it. So I hope that will keep them coming back, because the book is actually only the first in a series of books along the same theme. So there's books already written. I've got about a dozen more books already written that will be released over time. And it includes things like more games animals play, what animals drive, animals at Halloween, animals making music, all following that A to Z alliterative format with the rhyming poem and the fun facts about the animals featured in that particular book.
Now, for in preparation of the book, you decided to give away 1,000 copies of your book for free. What made you decide to give away free copies?
You know, I don't know, a moment of craziness, I guess. And I just wanted to do something nice, and I thought, the putting it into the hands of more children more quickly would be a good thing to do. And research shows you that giving away books helps stimulate book sales. We'll find out over time if that's true or not. But I mean, it just, like I said, it's a passion project. At this point in time, it's not about making a whole lot of money or anything. Otherwise, I wouldn't be giving away 1,000 books. But I just want to share the joy. I mean, share the fun.
For the illustrations, how did you do the illustrations for your book?
Yeah, that was a bit of trial and error, honestly. So I will be the first to admit that all of the illustrations in the books are generated by AI. If I had to pay a professional illustrator to illustrate the books, they honestly never would have happened. So I played around with a number of different programs when I was looking to create that first image of crickets playing croquet. And after testing several programs, I finally decided that Google Gemini would be the program that I would use. The key is to write a very good prompt about specifically what it is that you want. So, you know, give me a colorful cartoon picture of five hippos playing in the forest, playing hide and seek with one of the hippos' eyes closed or eyes covered by his hands. And you got to go back and forth some, certainly, because it doesn't always give you the output that you're looking for. And I certainly did learn that you can go into the same AI program on separate days, and it gives you kind of a different looking output than you had on the previous day. So if you want a similar look and feel to the images that you're creating for a children's book, then you need to kind of try to knock as many out as you can at one sitting. Well, it's in that particular frame of mind. If you go back the next day, the pictures don't look exactly the same. They create kind of a different look and feel. And so there's actually a couple pictures in this book that you could tell came from a different image generating session. But after I've generated the images and I run them through Photoshop to clean up a few little things that I like to clean up the image, make it as sharp as possible. And there are some images that just come out as garbage. Honestly, you got to go back to the drawing board. I mean, it gives you a zebra with five legs or something. Well, that ain't gonna work. I mean, they need to look like a zebra would look, or whatever the animal is. So there's some back and forth and all that. But AI has been a fantastic tool to make these books come to life. And again, they would not have happened were it not for the advent of the AI technologies that made the automatic drawing possible.
Yeah, AI, when you're trying to use AI as a tool to help kind of craft a picture or an image, it can be so frustrating at first. I, for the actually for the artwork of this podcast, I used AI to generate it, and it wasn't a easy one and done. Was able to get it done within 5 minutes. It took multiple different reiterations of words trying to get the exact way of how I wanted everything to be. And
Yep.
then I had to go into, I think, Canva to add text and to touch some things up. So, yeah, I fully can agree with you on how AI can be frustrating and is like a trial and error run, but it ended up looking just how I wanted it. It looked really good. Um,
Now, AI did not generate the text in the book. I wrote all the captions to go with the pictures myself. So, and obviously the concept was all mine. Now, in my earlier career, I wrote 8 business books, Noah, again, on the public speaking and the book publishing spaces. And so I had a publisher from that portion of my career, and they have a children's division, so I decided to let them go ahead and do the children books also. So I sent them the images, I sent them the captions that match up with the images, but my publisher did all the layout and where to put the text on the page and all that. So it wasn't a do it by yourself effort. It was, there was a team behind it making the final product look like you would want it to look.
Now, is there any similarities about your writing process when it came to writing the business and speaking books compared to the children's books, or was there a kind of like a huge
Well,
differentiate?
there were certainly some differences. I mean, a lot more research had to go into the writing of the business books because, I'm looking at one of the books I wrote, and this was a longer one, but it's 283 pages. Well, that's a lot of text. That's a lot of words or whatever. And so a lot of research had to go in and make sure that I was covering topics properly and that it's aimed, in the wording is appropriate for that audience. When I got to writing the children's book, it's like, okay, Brett, you got to rethink this because you're writing for a 2 to 5 year old. So you can't use the same, the big words or whatever. You got to make sure that it's language that the younger kids can understand. And I had to go back to the drawing board a few times and say, yeah, this just isn't appropriate for that particular level of reader or somebody being read to. So you definitely got to make sure that whoever your target audience is, that you're using language that makes sense for that particular audience.
Now, going forward, do you think that you are will primarily focus on children's books now, or are you going to try to do a little bit of a balance between your speaking on publishing books and children's books?
I think the days of the speaking and publishing books is probably over. That was an earlier part of my career. I mean, I was back in here's a little bit of backstory. So way back in 1999, I had a guy who decided he wanted to put on his first internet marketing super conference, and I remember it was in Las Vegas at the old Las Vegas Hilton. And I hadn't been to Vegas before, but I didn't even know what backroom sales meant. But I said, sure, I'll do that or whatever. So that led me to getting to know a lot of the speakers in that particular niche very early in the internet marketing arc. And so that's where I got a lot of my knowledge, a lot of my learning, and all that. And so I started writing books. The first book was called View from the Back 101 Tips for Event Promoters Who Want to Dramatically Increase Backroom Sales. And that came from my perspective of being the one that provided the team and the merchant account that could handle a lot of money in a short period of time. And then we take care of collecting all the monies from the back of the room sales, pay the promoter, pay the speakers, and take a cut for doing that. Now, these events that I was attending were primarily in the internet marketing, information marketing, and book publishing spaces. And that was kind of the sweet spot, so to speak, of the people that I was working with. And so again, the knowledge increased from hanging around the right kind of crowd or whatever. And, just a quick sidebar, as an author, your most valuable asset are the relationships you have with other people. So be very conscious of how you nurture those relationships and how you sustain those relationships. You got to provide value to others first, and you can't go in with a taking mindset. You got to come in with a giving mindset, but it just pays back massively over time. But so I continued that journey and started writing books about book publishing. The one I wrote was called Mistakes Authors Make. I wrote a couple books on speaking. Some of them were co-authored. I had other people involved in the process. Uh, but along the same time frame, I was also co-founder of a company called Speaker Fulfillment Services. It provided fulfillment services for authors, speakers, and information marketers. And so that particular company, I was doing attending a lot of events, started to do some speaking myself. I was pretty much a naturally introverted person, and I finally decided, Brett, you need to get over that and get out there and share some of what you've learned along the way. And then after those books, so that was one of the marketing tools. Those books were primarily written as marketing tools for awareness of the fulfillment company to help land clients. Again, a couple we ran up the bestseller list intentionally, but most of them we didn't put that much behind them. They were just tools for the marketing. But that particular company that I was co-founder of was sold off to an employee about 5 or 6 years ago. And then shortly after that time, I exited that particular space. I did a podcast for 3 years called Spotlight on Speaking, where I interviewed public speakers and did a little bit of coaching and consulting and all that in that particular arena. And then I just decided that, maybe I didn't have as much passion for that as I truly did to make it as successful as it could have been. I mean, some of it was fun, some of it was just work. Uh, I attended a lot of networking events and got kind of tired of seeing the same faces in the networking events. But, it's like then the idea for the children's book came back, and again, it became a passion project. And so going forward, I would say it's probably going to be 100% children's books, Noah, and the day of writing business books is probably gone and past.
Tell me a little bit about what the Laugh and Learn Library is and what it's all about.
All right, so the first book in the series, and this is with the help of some friends, that was the overreaching brand created is the Laugh and Learn Library. Book number one is the book we talked about, games animals play when we're not looking, and it is the first book in the series. I would like to release more, typically about every 3 to 4 months. You release a new title, so that way the book buyers for the bookstores don't pick one or the other. They have a chance to pick something fresh regularly. So a new book will be released about quarterly. It is a brand, so eventually I see possibly doing, like plush animals based on the characters in the book. I've started to create some new books which are again aimed at that same age group, 2 to 5, where the animal featured in this first book, for example, A is for alligator in the book. Well, A is for alligator is the name of a kid's book that will introduce 25 words beginning with the letter A to young kids, using the same kind of colorful illustrations and all that. So, A is for apple, A is for accordion, whatever it may be. And so I started to write some, I don't know what kind of books you would call them, I mean, the learning books for the young kids is kind of a extension of the brand, so to speak, a brand extension. Uh, but I also created a website called laughandlearnlibrary.com, which has some fun activities. So the fun facts featured in the books will also be on the website for kids to enjoy. I went and did a book reading for some kindergartners a few months ago, and immediately the teachers pulled up on the internet the fun facts to go through with all the kids. So that was nice to see. There's some coloring pages online there. There's some word search puzzles there online. So it's a brand that's be created. Some merchandise will come into play at some point in time. But I'm still so much in the early stages of this. I mean, writing the books is in a sense, the easy part for every author. The hard part is the marketing of the books, and you got to recognize that you're not an author. You're the marketer of a book that you've written, and that should be the primary focus. And you got to start early on in the game, well before your book is released to the public, with those marketing efforts. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes, honestly, no, I see authors make is, they think that their job is done when they get the book written into the publisher, or whether they're self-publishing, whatever it may be, and they don't start any marketing efforts months in advance of when that book's going to come out. I mean, you got to start building a list of people excited about that book and wanting to receive it and get them to be champions on your behalf. And if you wait till the book comes out to do that, you're way too late in the game.
Do you think that children's books are underrated? Because I feel like there's not a lot of authors out there that are actively writing children's books as much as they used to when I was growing up. Do you think that that's true, or do you think that there's a lot of children's books out there that are being released that are just being overshadowed?
I think there's definitely some fantastic children's books that are being overshadowed. And it all comes back to what we just mentioned. No, it's about the marketing of the books. I mean, it's true of anything in this world. The quote best product is always not always the most highly sold. It's the best marketed product that's the most highly sold. And you can't rely on viral videos or something like that, hoping that's going to sell your book or whatever. It just takes continual effort. I have a friend who initiated a concept he calls 5 minute marketing, and that is, as an author, what are you going to do every day, even if it takes only 5 minutes, to do something to further market your brand or your books, whatever it may be. And it can be as simple as writing a thank you note to somebody, social media post, uh, soliciting a review from somebody. Every day you should be doing something to help build that audience, build that awareness of your books. And you just got to be consistent and constant. And you can't be necessarily just looking for that home run. You need to hit a lot of singles and doubles along the way to build up long-term success.
What tips do you have for authors in general if there's authors that are wanting to write children's books, what's your best piece of advice or some tips that you can give to them?
Sure. So, regardless of what type of book that you're going to write, whether it's a children's book, whether it's a novel, whether it's a memoir, whether it's a science fiction or a cloak and dagger, whatever it may be, the thing that many or most authors are very weak at is what are you doing as an author to draw people from your book more directly into your world? And so here's a couple of things. Number one, think about Amazon and Barnes and Noble, Noah. I mean, when you sell your book on those platforms, do they call you up and say, "Hey, Noah, so and so bought your book. Here's our contact information. Go sell them something else." They don't do that. So, what are you doing? What are you putting in that book to draw them from the book to your website, where you have some type of bribe or offer that will get them to want to give you their name and email address to receive that? For example, right now on the Laugh and Learn Library website, my bribe is, hey, I will send you the digital version of book number 2 when it comes out for free if you opt in to be part of the Laugh and Learn Library family. But you got to figure out what that opt in or what that bribe should be for your particular audience and something that is enticing to them. But then you got to make sure that you have in the actual book itself, you've got to have some type of bounce back offers or QR codes or something that will incentivize them to go from the book to your website, where you can capture them to then market additional books as they come out, or other products or services that you may have. If you're writing a book that's in the self-help category or how-to category, a nonfiction book, then you got to remember that that book is more of a marketing tool than anything else. You may make some money on that book, but it should be primarily designed to get them into your world, drive them to your website, where then you will then market them your higher ticket products or services, your coaching program, whatever it may be. So, start early with your marketing, but you got to figure out what you're going to do as an author to pull them from the book itself to your world, to your website, to your social media, whatever it may be. If it's social media, you still need to try to drive them from that to get on your list somehow so that you can then directly market to them, the next book that's coming out in the series or whatever it may be.
Where would you like to see your book and this series go in the future? What are some big plans that you have for the series?
Well, one thing I would like to see, Noah, is to start maybe seeing some schools incorporate it more formally into their curriculum because it's a good learning tool for learning about animals, for learning A to Z, the alphabet. So, I'll be putting some efforts forward on that. I do want to expand the brand. Again, I see some merchandise at some point in time, some more awareness. Uh, I want to give away the full 1,000 books. I've given away about 348 at last count, so I'm about 35% of the way through or whatever. But continue with that mission and fulfill that mission that I promised. I made a promise to myself that I was going to do that, and so I wish to stick to my promise. Um, you know, Obviously over time I would hope that it becomes a profitable brand. I mean, right now we're in the startup stages, and giving away books is a direct hit to my pocketbook. They cost me about $4 a piece to ship and print and all that. So I'm giving away several $1,000s worth of books. But hopefully that'll stimulate sales, and over time it'll be a moneymaker, and pay a few bills. But the main thing is to spread the good word, and hopefully again stimulate some early love of reading in kids, and build a fan base that wants to be excited about whatever the next book coming out is going to be.
Well, I think that this is a great start. I think it's a fun idea in a cute way. I was actually looking at the website earlier and, seeing just some of the animals that you use and how you kind of used in the rhyming scheme in there. I think is a really neat way of getting kids to learn about animals and also kind of get a little bit of that poetry in there too. So I think this is such a great idea, and I think this will be such a huge beneficial thing for kids and families going forward. Um, One question that's kind of fun during the writing process, which of the animals represented in the book was the most difficult to try to either find or have a rhyme scheme that would go well with the animal?
Well, the most difficult to find was an animal to match up with the letter X, and I learned what a xerus was, Xerus, which is basically like a kind of squirrel or whatever. Now the rhyming part was pretty easy for me, and I can crank those out fairly quickly. Uh, which one was the hardest? I don't know. I know which one was the most fun. So my favorite characters in the book actually are the hippos, and they're the ones that grace the cover of the book. So hippos playing hide and seek. But the actual favorite rhyming poem that I did for the book was I used C for chickens playing checkers. And the poem goes as follows: Checkers is a game the chickens are playing. When they're not playing games, it's eggs they'll be laying.
Oh, I like that. That's a good rhyme scheme. Would you be open to having maybe these be adapted into like a something more than just a children's book? Would you want to be like a TV show, a
You know,
something for a movie or anything like that?
Yeah, I could see at some point in time it becoming the basis of some type of cartoon, honestly. I have been playing around with some animated videos, and I did create a YouTube channel called Laugh and Learn Library. And I've just been using Google Vids to create like little short 8-second segments of the different animals from the book, inviting people to be involved with the official launch coming up August the 4th. I did string together videos, and that was a little challenging to create a little bit longer video. But I've been playing around with some animations and noodling a bit in my brain about what kind of storylines could you create. They could make up a 10-minute short cartoon to put on the YouTube channel or whatever. And I just haven't had time to play with all the video animation programs to decide which one is the best that's going to be able to create the type of output that I'm looking for. I mean, the even the 24-second video was a bit challenging, Noah, because I had to string together basically three 8-second videos, and I had to make sure that the starting place of section 2 was exactly where I had the characters at section 1 ending, and then 2 to 3 the same thing, so that it looked as seamless as possible and not herky jerky. But yeah, I mean, I could see you know more videos for the YouTube channel, as well as maybe some longer cartoon type things that would help make awareness of the brand and help spread the word about the books.
Well, Brett, I appreciate you so much for taking time to come on the podcast today to share your story and to share these books with me and my audience today. For people interested in learning more about the book as well as to learn updates about the series going forward, where can they go to learn more information and where can they go to follow?
Sure. The primary website is laughandlearnlibrary.com. So LAUGHANDLEARNLIBRARY.com. And I'm sure you'll put that in the show notes. So that'll be down there for them. And I encourage people to opt in to get book number 2, digital format, for free, and just become part of the family. Again, the official launch isn't until August the 4th. And right now, I've been primarily, honestly, driving traffic to Barnes and Noble because I want to help push to get it into the actual bookstores too. And so that's part of the strategy from the publisher, is to drive traffic there. So, but Laugh and Learn Library is where it's at. That's where you find the other fun activities. And I hope people will be excited to jump on board.
And as he had mentioned, I will put all this information in the description box in the show notes below. The website will be down there, so feel free to just go there and follow him and learn more and support him. You can also follow the podcast on the socials as well. You can reach out to me on Instagram and TikTok at Southern.Reads. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcasts. And feel free to also follow the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Subscribe so you get notified of when new episodes come out. You can also find all this information on the website too, noahspodcasts.com. There you'll find links to all my socials where the podcast is available, as well as some additional things on there. So feel free to check that out. And again, all those links will be listed down below. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of Southern Reads.